If you'd told me a few years ago that here I'd be cheering on Twitter suing people, I would have been deeply confused as to how you could possibly hold such a ridiculous notion. And yet, here we are. Elon Musk is making yet further suing noises, having already, of course, threatened to sue the Anti-Defamation League over, well, scaring advertisers off Twitter straight up. Something the ADL refuses that they ever did, of course, after admitting that they did do that one time, asking advertisers to boycott Twitter. But even if they would, they couldn't have the power to do that. They're just a tiny non-profit organization. This was made minutes after they bragged about being able to actually pull advertisers off Twitter, but again, details. The Anti-Defamation League is a very amusing organization after all. But this latest bevy of attacks that see IBM, EU, and Lionsgate pull ads from Elon Musk's X. Yes, the European Union runs ads, and I'm pretty sure you can guess exactly what kind of ads they're running. This happens after yet further accusations of anti-Semitism levied by an organization called Media Matters for America. They have made imaginative allegations against Twitter and its connection to anti-Semitism. And one of the core aspects of this was this tweet right here, where Elon tweeted, "You have said the actual truth." Alright, well, what is this in response to then? Oh, it's in response to this, which is in response to this. So let's start at the very top, shall we? To the coward hiding behind the anonymity of the internet and posting Hitler was right, which, you know, I see his point there, as an awful lot of left-wingers have developed a certain rightward bend as of late, shall we say. They've developed extremist sympathies very, very quickly, which is a topic we will return to a little bit later on in this video, because it is very demonstrative of the mental weakness of the modern day left that this could happen just like that, but we'll get back to that as mentioned. You got something you want to say? Why didn't you say it to our faces? And the artist formerly known as Eric apparently took that challenge personally and said, okay, Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of dialectical hatred against the whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. I am deeply disinterested in giving the tiniest shit now about Western Jewish populations coming to the disturbing realization that those hordes of minorities that support flooding their countries, I presume, don't exactly like them too much. You want truth sent to your face? There it is. And Elon responds, "You have said the actual truth." So this kicked off quite the furor, doesn't it? Because, well, the guy's saying that the Jews have done something bad. And for YouTube's sake here, let me make this clear. I am not making any accusations, I am reporting on what's currently happening. As the Jews is a rather broad term. All organizations, all religions, all everything are going to have their own extremists. And the Jewish community, just like any other community, does have those, as Jews Unite Behind Push for Immigration Reforms is an article from 2013. Because if we're going to talk about the Jews, heavy quotation marks intended, yet again, extremists, pushing for mass immigration, especially from countries that often don't particularly like them, well, the ADL has done that. We know this for a fact. Like, this is a matter of public record here. You can't really pretend it isn't. As for anti-white hatred, again, I'll point out extremist elements in any group, but that too is, pretty well documented. Pretty extensively documented, in fact. And Twitter has been running over with it. We've even seen some amusing ones as well. What's Up Frank says, "Dude, what are you talking about? What Jewish people are pushing hate towards whites?" Literally you, with receipts. I make no judgments. I'm simply saying. And this then resulted in a lawsuit being threatened, apparently being launched even yesterday at the time of recording this video. The split-second court opens on Monday. X-Corp will be filing a thermonuclear lawsuit against Media Matters and all those who colluded in this fraudulent attack on our free speech. So, here's the thing. The reason why I am in favor of Twitter doing this is very simple. Twitter is not a perfect platform, or X if you will, the name being one example of not being perfect, but it is the closest thing to a free speech platform we currently have. And as always, the enemy of good enough is perfect. And Twitter is exactly that. It is good enough. It does the job we need it to do. Introducing, for example, the community notes has done more to combat disinformation than every single solitary government initiative costing billions and trillions have achieved. Elon Musk has literally done more to defeat disinformation and the spread of fake news by allowing people to speak than any quantity of censorship ever has or ever will be able to. So, this is talking, of course, about the lost revenue. Of the 5.5 billion ad impressions on X that day, less than 50 total ad impressions were served against all of the organic content featured in the Media Matters article. So the Media Matters article apparently cherry-picked the examples to demonstrate anti-Semitism and how that was used to monetize on Twitter. And, well, X should know, seeing as they're the ones sitting on all of the actual back-end information on this. I am very, very much so looking forward to seeing how these various lawsuits pan out, and I do hope Elon goes through with it all the way, because, again, the best way to deal with people creating news specifically to push an agenda and defeat their political enemies is to, well, do this. If this is indeed blatantly false and defamatory information, then, well, that is indeed a crime, and they can and should be sued for it. There is also the mention of stuff like this. I find it really interesting how the media and advertisers continually only target X, while TikTok, Reddit, Facebook, Instagram, and everything else are wildly anti-Semitic recently. And, well, that is a little bit of an interesting notion, isn't it? It's a bit of a peculiar one, isn't it? Because it has actually been getting rather feisty as of late. Now, to be fair, there have been media organizations mentioning, you know, the letter to America, and how apparently quite a few TikTokers read Osama bin Laden's letter to America and thought to themselves, oh hey, he's a deeply sympathetic fella. And this is where we arrive at the why are leftists swinging so radically rightwards part of the video. Because TikTok had to actually prohibit videos promoting bin Laden's letter to America. Because people were picking up on it. So many normies, progressive, lefty, modern-day youths were looking at this and going, "You, letter to America? What's this? I've never heard of it." And they went to read it, and it is pure propaganda. It is Osama bin Laden going, "I didn't attack you, you attacked me, gosh darn it. I am la résistance, you must understand. I am against colonialism." And those are exactly the sort of dog-whistling noises that your average progressive have been trained quite thoroughly to listen to. And so when they read it, they thought to themselves, well, this person couldn't possibly be lying or obfuscating parts of the truth to me. He must be part of la résistance. America bad. Well, the rabbit hole on Osama bin Laden's a little bit deeper than that, as of course Osama himself had no problems with receiving aid from the Americans, from the great Satan. But hey, details, details. I'm not going to go into the reasons why Osama bin Laden isn't a good person. Because, well, I don't think it's strictly necessary. Holy shit. But, okay, so the reason why, as the post mentioned, right, there's been a lot of anti-Semitism on other platforms is because, yeah, a lot of people have started adopting, shall we say, Islamic views on the Jewish population. And the Islamic views on Jews is rather strident, shall we say. We would probably meet the definition of actual anti-Semitism. In fact, I believe that a considerable portion of the Muslim population would say quite proudly that they are anti-Semitic, so there's that. But as for why, Western youths are looking at this and thinking it's a good thing, it is because they have no philosophical tools with which to analyze anything. They are the purest example of a political sheep we have as a society produced, damn near. They will subscribe to whatever argument is made to them with a sufficient quantity of authority, the latest. This is how you could, after the Second World War, for example, we learned that it was relatively easy to turn a communist into a fascist or vice versa, but it was very difficult to turn either of them into a capitalist. Because fascism and communism, they spring from the same root. And so convincing one another of the worthies of each other's ideology is actually relatively simple. In the case of the modern-day youth, they have been indoctrinated with the ideas that America bad, America war, America evil, America invade other innocent countries who didn't do nothing ever. And anyone who fights against America must then be the resistance. They're fighting against anti-colonialism, don't you see? They're trying to stop America colonizing the world. This is why we had to have articles when the whole Hamas-Israel war broke out again, explaining like, hold on there, fellow leftists, killing civilians isn't actually anti-colonialism. You felt the need to explain that. You didn't simply assume this was obvious, because you knew that it wouldn't be obvious to a vast quantity of your adherents. Ironically, the modern-day left is one Amazon ebook download of Mein Kampf away from turning into the new alt-right, because they will simply adopt whatever argument is delivered to them at the latest in the most persuasive and authoritative manner. That is literally it. That is why we are seeing this. That is why we are seeing the extreme left-wing bias as well. That is why we are seeing, companies like IBM, is not exactly a company, but you get my drift, pulling out from Twitter merely from having a word spoken at them. Anti-Semitism. And this has long been the tactic of the left, ever since the earliest days of cancel culture. What they would do was they would troll through a timeline, they'd find a few words and snippets here and there, and they would send those to your employer, they would send it to YouTube, they would send it to social media, and go, are you aware that this person said this and this? Do you have some comments, please, as to why you allow anti-Semitism, racism, sexism, and homophobia on your platform? And the platforms would then look at it and go, well, I mean, this guy isn't worth the trouble, so just yeet his ass and make some, nice noises in their general direction. Like, we stand against all of these bad things and agree totally, but the bad things are indeed bad things. This has, unsurprisingly, not led to a tremendous degree of intellectual rigor developing on the left. But, hey, if nothing else, I suppose we can all take a certain schadenfreude in seeing these horseshoe theory proven so thoroughly and utterly correct. So, Twitter. Go Twitter. Go Elon Musk. Seriously, unironically, I want to see these lawsuits play out, and I want to see them made into precedents. Because if it does become precedents, then, writing obvious misleading lies on someone on the internet will become an automatic crime. And as someone who has had more than his fair share of hit articles written against him, I feel like that would be a very funny and interesting change. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.